Hello friends, today we will be discussing the State Council of Ministers. As we all know that the Constitution of India has adopted a parliamentary system and a responsible administrative system for both the union as well as the states. The governor happens to be the constitutional head of the state, but he alone does not carry out the administration of the state. Apart from the governor, we find that all the executive action of the state are carried out in the name of the governor, but it is, in the real sense, it is the Council of Ministers who carried out the administration of the state headed by the Chief Minister. In fact, Article 163 of the Indian Constitution provides that there shall be a Council of Ministers to aid and advise the governor in the exercise of his functions, except in those cases where the governor is required to act in his own discretion. Now let us see how the Council of Ministers, including the Chief Minister, are appointed in the state administration. The Chief Minister is appointed by the governor. Generally, the leader of the party having a majority in the assembly is generally appointed as the Chief Minister of the state. But the Council of Ministers are appointed by the governor only on the advice of the Chief Minister. Any person can become a minister provided he has the confidence of the state legislature. Article 164, Section 4 of the Constitution permits a non-legislator to become a minister for a period of 6 months. But if he fails to secure a seat within a 6 months tenure, then he or she ceases to be a minister. The Council of Ministers hold the office during the pleasure of the governor. There is no fixed number of ministers. In fact, it is at the discretion of the Chief Minister, or it is for the Chief Minister to determine the size of the Council of Ministers and the number of persons he wants in his cabinet. Originally, there is no such provision in the Constitution relating with the size of the Council of Ministers. However, in the year 2003, Parliament has amended the Constitution and it has been stated that at least 15% of the total members of the state legislature can be appointed as the ministers in this state, and that 15% includes the Chief Minister of the state. The Constitution of India did not mention anywhere about the existing stratification within the Council of Ministers. At this critical juncture of a discussion, one can wonder whether the ministers in the Council of Ministers share equal position to each other. In fact, in the Constitution, nowhere it has been mentioned about the existing different categories within the ministries. However, different categories exist within the Council of Ministers so far as the convention goes. Just like the union government, even in the state administration, the Council of Ministers can be divided into 3 main categories. They are namely the cabinet ministers, the ministers of state, and the deputy ministers. The cabinet ministers are those who hold important portfolios like that of the finance, commerce, health, home, and even education and so on. But the cabinet ministers, they hold regular meetings in the state administration. The ministers of state are attached to the department under a cabinet minister. They are not likely or they are not entitled to attend the meetings of the cabinet. The deputy ministers are there to assist the Council of Ministers, specifically the Chief Minister of the state. In the Constitution of India, no post as post as of the Deputy Chief Minister is mentioned anywhere. But yet we find that at certain occasions in some of the states, the post of Deputy Chief Minister has been placed forward. One such instance could be noted in the state of West Bengal when Mr. Jyoti Basu was appointed as the Deputy Chief Minister under the Ajoy Mukherjee's ministry. Again, in Kerala in the early 80s, we find that in the Democratic Front ministry, Mr. Muhammad Koya was appointed as the Deputy Chief Minister of the state. Though the ministers are collectively responsible, but the actual decision is being taken by the cabinet ministers and the chief minister. However, the cabinet ministers on certain occasions may ask some of the ministers in the state under special circumstances to attend those meetings, but they are not likely to cast their vote if it is required so. The cabinet meeting is usually convened by the chief minister of the state. Now let us see the term of the Council of Ministers. The normal tenure of Council of Ministers is for 5 years, but their existence depends upon the pleasure of the governor. However, it is largely on the pleasure of the chief minister, because if the chief minister seems to be dissatisfied with a concerned minister, with a particular minister in the state, then he or she might ask the minister to give his resignation. If the concerned minister refuses to do so, then the chief minister might advise the governor to dismiss the concerned minister from his Council of Ministers. Apart from the tenure, now let us see how the Council of Ministers can be dismissed from the state administration. Generally speaking, dismissal of the Council of Ministers can be viewed from two perspectives. At the first instance, it can be viewed from the dismissal of the individual minister concerned, and the second instance, dismissal of ministry can be viewed from the dismissal of the entire ministry altogether. So far as the first instance is concerned, that is, at an individual level, a minister can be removed by the chief minister. As being already said, in this respect, the power of the chief minister seems to be more crucial. The chief minister can ask for his resignation. If he refuses to do so, then he might advise the governor to suspend him from his Council of Ministers on grounds of either inefficiency or even differences of opinion. Even Rajamannar Committee has recommended that so far as the dismissal of the individual minister is concerned, the decision of the chief minister should be given a greater priority. Some of these instances can be noted where we find that on the advice of the chief minister, a concerned minister has been dismissed. For instance, in the year 1964, in the state of Punjab, we find that Mr. Mohanlal was dismissed, who was the then state home minister, on the advice of the then chief minister, Mr. Gopi Chand Bhargav. However, situation differs in case of a coalition government. If there is a coalition government in the state, then we find that none of the political parties has actually assumed majority in the state legislature. It implies that a number of parties taken together will form the state government. Consequently, we find that the decision of the chief minister so far as the appointment or the dismissal of a minister is concerned should not be taken as final, because we all know that in a coalition is actually based on mutual interdependence of the different political parties. So apart from the mutual understanding of the different parties of the state, we also know that sometimes coalition governments are actually based on certain conditions. If the chief minister in such a case or in such an instance tries to act in his own discretion, then there is a possibility that it might lead to a serious political crisis, thereby threatening the very existence of the state ministry. So far as the dismissal of the ministry is concerned, that is, we are now taking note of the second instance, where we will be talking about the dismissal of the total ministry. I mean, dismissal of the ministry in absolute terms. This can be done so under the following situation. Firstly, the governor by his own discretion can dismiss the ministry. Several incidents can be noted in the constitutional history of India. But even then, such incidents should not be taken as the normal phenomena and should be regarded as exceptional cases. Secondly, the governor, with his recommendation of constitutional breakdown of the state machinery. In other words, the governor, if he or she recommends that there is a constitutional breakdown of the state machinery, then he might ask the president to impose or to proclaim emergency, state emergency under Article 356. In such a situation, the ministry would be suspended. Thirdly, if the governor feels that the state government is not functioning on the basis of the constitutional provisions, then the governor can dissolve the ministry and throw the house on the vortex of fresh election. Finally, the governor is liable to dismiss the ministry if he feels that the ministry has lost its majority in the state legislature. How do we know that whether the ministry has at all lost its majority in the state legislature? Some of the cases has been cited where we find that if the important government bills, or particularly the budget of the state, is rejected by the House, then it will indicate that the ministry has lost its majority in the state legislature and the House can demand its resignation. Another complex situation might arise if we see that the chief minister himself or herself tender his resignation from the state administration. One such incident can be noted in the very recent past, just immediately after the 2014 Lok Sabha election. We found that the Chief Minister of Bihar, Mr. Nitish Kumar, had tendered his resignation, thereby leading to a severe political crisis in the state. Now, the Council of Ministers happens to be the most powerful body in the machinery of the state administration. Even within the Council of Ministers, it is the Chief Minister along with his cabinet who wields the actual power. The governor is a nominal executive of the state administration, while the real executive of the state happens to be the Chief Minister and his cabinet. Now let us see the powers and functions of the Council of Ministers in the following way. Firstly, the policies are formulated by the Council of Ministers. Specifically, they are formulated in a cabinet meeting in the presence of the Chief Minister. Obviously, with regard to the formulation of policies, the viewpoint of the Chief Minister happens to play a more crucial role. Sometimes even we find that the party line happens to be the last word. The bills which are moved to by the ministers in the legislature and if the ministry commands a majority, then the bill is easily passed. Secondly, Council of Ministers plays a significant role so far as the implementation of the policies in the real life is concerned. In this respect, the overall executive of the state comes under the control of the Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers review the problems related with the implementation of the policies, and they try to reach for further solutions. In fact, any problems related with the policies are placed before the cabinet, where it is presented before the cabinet, in which they are actually dealt with. Thirdly, cabinet plays a vital role in the formulation of the laws. All the drafts of the acts are actually being made by the concerned ministers of the state. The ministers in most cases introduce the proposed draft to the state legislature. In fact, to a large extent, the bills which are introduced and adopted in the state legislature happens to be the government bills. Compared to the government bills, the private bills seems to be quite limited in number. Fourthly, the Council of Ministers actually is run by the Chief Minister, and he recommends the names of his ministers to the governors. Similarly, with other appointments too, the Chief Minister has a vital role to play. The Chief Minister advises the governor so far as the appointment of the Vice Chancellors of different universities of the states are concerned, appointment with regard to the Advocate General, Chairman and the members of the State Public Service Commission, Chairman of various corporations and various boards made by the governors on the basis of recommendation of the Chief Minister and his Council of Ministers. Fifthly, in the financial matters of the state, the Council of Ministers plays a significant role. The budget implies the financial transaction that is taking place within a year is actually placed before the state legislature, and it is being prepared by none other than the concerned minister of the state. Apart from the budget, the money bills are also being prepared by the Council of Ministers. Sixthly, other than the regular law-making process, the Council of Ministers can use the ordinance-making power of the governor under Article 213. The governor may promulgate an ordinance when the House is not in session. An ordinance promulgated in such a situation has the same force and effect just like any law of the state. Seventhly, the Council of Ministers coordinate between the various departments of the executive. The Council of Ministers specifies the jurisdiction of each of the departments of the administration in the government. If contradictions and inconsistencies exist between the various departments of the state administration, then it is the duty of the Council of Ministers to resolve it. Finally, under Article 163, the Council of Ministers, headed by the Chief Minister, is there to aid and advise the governor of the state, which has been discussed at the very beginning of our lecture. So we find that in the recent years, the scope of powers and functions of the Council of Ministers has been extended to a great extent. Even the dominance of the executive over the legislature is well established in a parliamentary system. However, situation differs when we find a coalition government existing in a state. In fact, the Council of Ministers wield enormous powers so long as it has the majority or majority support within the state legislature. A recent trends, it must also be noted that the recent trends in the parliamentary system reveals that the council, it is not the council of ministers, but even within the council of ministers, the power is more concentrated in the hands of the cabinet ministers, and not the least particularly in the hands of the chief minister himself.